time to value, time to market. These metrics drive innovation. The question these days is how quickly and effectively can you put quality analytics into action? Speed and simplicity matter more than ever. That's why serverless is taking off, along with cloud native architectures.
The future is here already. It's just not evenly distributed. Yet. Today's world teems with innovation. The nexus of hardware, software, and human ingenuity promises a revolution in possibilities. What does tomorrow look like? Witness future proof.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back once again to Future Proof, the world's first made-for-TV webinar series. I love this idea. Folks, check your local listings. We're in a half dozen markets around the country now with Future Proof, a show about how today's technology is shaping tomorrow. You can find us in Silicon Valley, in Washington, D.C., Atlanta, and several other places around the country. Hop online and do a search for Future Proof with yours truly. And of course, today we're actually in a briefing room webinar. So we're going to hear from a really, really interesting company called Curve. So fast and furious, serverless cloud native analytics, the briefing room. So let's dive right in. David Aberson is the Chief Technology Officer over at Curve. And of course, there's yours truly on the other side of the coin. And to really set this up, I wanted to go back in time a bit. One of my favorite authors, Edward Albee, wrote a play called The Zoo Story. And the main character has one line that always struck me. He said, "Sometimes it's necessary to go a long distance out of the way in order to come back a short distance correctly." And his point, I think, was to get perspective on things. And so when I think about where we are in the evolution of analytics and data, and also in the context of enterprise computing, I see us at the beginning of a fourth major wave, a fourth generation of enterprise computing. And I'll explain that throughout these next few minutes. So there's an old mainframe from 1974. I was about 6 years old at the time. That was the original computing paradigm, was mainframe, right? And it's still here today. Mainframes have a very, very long tail. I did just today a search to see mainframe COBOL developer jobs in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and there's 100 more on top of the 3 that are listed here. So mainframes are absolutely still rocking and rolling. In the technology world, you always have this really long tail. So no doubt on-prem data centers are not going away anytime soon. I always joke that the rumor of their demise has been exaggerated, but nonetheless, the future is cloud. But I'm talking about the history, so where we've come from, where we're going. Well, look at this. IBM Systems business unit reported $1.4 billion in revenue, up 4%. You can look this up online from blocks and files. So mainframe is rocking and rolling. The Z series is doing just fine. $1.4 billion in revenues, not too bad. It's still out there, it's everywhere, but again, it doesn't mean it's the future, but it's going to be around a long time. So that was phase one. What's phase two? Was client server. And for those of you who've been around long enough, you remember when you would go buy some application, you'd go and check the operating system, and there would be the Mac OS, a Linux version, and then like 12 different variations of Windows. And I think this is a big reason why IBM threw $1 billion into Linux to harden it as an enterprise operating system, because Microsoft kept pulling the wool underneath, or pulling the rug from underneath them and causing trouble. Because when a new OS comes out, you have to recompile, you have to make some changes, recompile your software to work in these different operating systems. Well, that was just a big pain in the you-know-what, and it caused a lot of friction and a lot of time and a lot of money for these companies all to stay on top of this and to deliver their wares. So client server was a huge period of time. I mean, you could argue that's from the late 80s all the way through the 90s into the aughts. And then, of course, what was happening is the early cloud providers were coming out. There's little Mark Benioff. And you can look at the revenue these guys are making in 2005, 176 million. In 2020, 17 billion. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of revenue. And they were really the poster child for software as a service. Remember, they used to call it application service providers, ASPs. I once asked on a radio show, one of the guests, what's the difference between an ASP and software as a service? He goes, SaaS works. I think he was being kind of a smart aleck. But the point is, these were the early days. And there were lots of different offerings out there, lots of cloud-based offerings, but they were all sort of bespoke, and they were fairly clunky compared to what we have today. So this is phase three, right? Early application service providers, the third major generation of enterprise technology, especially in the analytics space. Well, Of course, Amazon Web Services, this is from Wikipedia, back in 2000 to 2005 was that first period. And I highlighted this one section here that's really kind of interesting. So they write around the same time frame, Amazon sought out to create a shared IT platform. So its engineering organizations, which were spending 70% of their time on undifferentiated heavy lifting, such as IT and infrastructure problems, could focus on customer-facing innovation instead. This is very interesting. As you all know, every business is unique. Even if you are in, let's say, the retail space for a specific type of clothing, you could have 10, 20 companies, 30 companies competing with you, technically competing, but there's something interesting and unique about each and every one of them. And there's this line about software is eating the world. And of course, every business is going to become a software business. That's very true in that the data and the functionality provided by the company, well, that is the company. I mean, you can have a brand, you can have an identity, but the DNA of that company, if it is well articulated and well formed, if you will, in a cloud-friendly environment, becomes a very compelling and powerful thing. And it really sort of enhances and shines what is there and what is interesting about a company. And this is, again, 2000 to 2005, you're talking 21 years ago that this was starting. So in any business, it takes time to ramp up, to build the infrastructure, to get things right, to sort through challenges. We've had lots and lots of innovations along the way. But I wanted to point this out that way back in 2000, Amazon was thinking about it. You see some more interesting information here about where it all came from and how this all started, but it fairly quickly crystallized. And, you know, this is the beginning when somehow Amazon got a 10-year head start, a decade-long head start on the competition. And you had Oracle and SAP and other guys doing some little things in the cloud, but there was nowhere near the amount of engineering effort, focus, and drive to get it done as Amazon Web Services. So look at these numbers here from just recently. Worldwide cloud infrastructure services spend. You've got Amazon at 32%, Microsoft at 19%. So they're coming along. Google at just 7%, and others 42%. $41.8 billion for cloud infrastructure services. That's a whole heck of a lot of money. And these folks are really pioneering and leading the charge. Well, I've been inside Amazon. I've done some work with Amazon. I know a fair amount about some of the technologies that are baked in there, like Redshift, for example, which came from a company called Parexel. Interesting storyline there at some point we'll have to share. But what I found so interesting is just the number of different services and what it looks like. And if you go into the back end of these Amazon environments, I would argue it kind of looks like a Home Depot of functionality. There was an analyst at the, I guess it was a Strata event in San Jose, who broke it down for me a few years ago. He said the reason why you see so many of these very particular, very granular services in this giant inventory is because Amazon works so hard with their customers to get them exactly precisely what they need to be done, right? So what that results in is this giant warehouse full of functionality. Well, what I see happening here, this is the fourth major wave in enterprise computing, it seems to me. And I'm an analytics guy, so I'm always looking through the lens of data and analysis. But this is the cloud native environment. If you think about it, you can see this language in the Wikipedia page about Amazon and AWS. They view it as almost like an operating system for the cloud. And now, of course, you have Kubernetes, thanks to Google, open sourcing that. Kubernetes is the de facto winner. I heard a really funny assessment on why Kubernetes won and Docker did not, even though Docker was first. And the consultant on one of our shows joked that Docker wanted to charge developers for the platform. And he said, developers don't like to pay for stuff. They like to just build things their own, roll their own. But at a certain point, you do want to buy, right? You don't want to always build everything, although some development teams do want to do that. But the point being that Kubernetes won, and now it's everywhere. And that's another sort of big foundational component of what you see in this cloud native universe. Well, just think about if you can leverage core services provided by Amazon Web Services, which now is 21 years of delivering these kinds of solutions, they're about as bulletproof as you're going to get. Yeah, they have downtime. Everybody has downtime now and again. There are some glitches here and there, but this stuff is bulletproof. And another great quote from a friend of mine, Mark Madsen, once noted that it takes 10 years of a database in production, 10 years to find the edge cases that will crash that database. So these folks have had 21 years now building out from this core to identify all sorts of issues along the way. And again, now imagine if you had a service layer that allowed you to better understand what those functionality bits are and when to use them and how to weave them together to pull all kinds of data, not just traditional structured data, but unstructured data, all kinds of things into the unique mix that is your business. And then you could use those baked in services at Amazon, only pay for what you need because you could have a serverless architecture. We'll talk about that. And then that is the power, that is the engine that you're using. So it's almost like you're renting an M1A1 tank whenever you need it to crawl across the country and blow stuff up. It's amazing. And I think this is why we are standing on the precipice of a whole new generation of enterprise technology that is cloud native, that is cloud delivered, and that is managed and has all these powerful services underneath that are delivered to you through a nice user interface. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to my buddy, David Abersom of Curve.
Great. Thanks, Eric, so much. And I think, some great points in the introduction. I like the analogy of comparing Amazon to sort of the Home Depot, all the different components and services that you can take advantage of. And that's kind of exactly what we've been able to do here at Curve. So just a quick introduction. My name is David Abersom. I'm the CTO here at Curve, and we are an embedded analytics platform, really specializing in embedded analytics for SaaS application providers. So anybody who's building software and wants to integrate and embed business analytics capabilities directly into their SaaS products or software offerings, that's really what the Curve platform is designed and all about. And we've actually been in the embedded analytics space for quite some time. Myself personally, along with many of my colleagues here at Curve. And when we thought about the landscape for what was possible in terms of embedded analytics, we really looked at sort of the power of what's available in the cloud ecosystems, particularly the public cloud ecosystems like AWS. And so that's really where we are sitting today, at kind of that intersection of the rich BI and analytics capabilities, targeted at folks who are building custom applications in the cloud, specifically for AWS services. And part of the reason why we're doing what we're doing is because embedded analytics is such a compelling way to enhance and improve software. Not only can it offer opportunities to grow revenue of software solutions, you can get your customers more engaged, you can create really compelling product differentiations. But with the power of the cloud, what we're really doing is we're looking at how to improve upon what has been an existing set of functions and capabilities for some time in sort of this legacy business intelligence, business analytics space. But those tools really not optimized or built for SaaS applications or for the current model of architecting solutions within the cloud, either because those models are way too complex with all the different servers and configurations and people required, or they're just incredibly expensive because of all the hardware and other capabilities that would need to be involved in deployment and how you're working with those. So, the old way of doing things, we were in that world for a long time before we started Curve, and it just required too many complex systems, too many solutions, didn't scale, required detail experts in every different function in order for things to get working correctly. And when we looked at what was possible with the cloud, we thought, what if there was a new paradigm, a new way we could approach this and really target what the needs of software developers and SaaS applications wanted in terms of an embedded solution for analytics. And so we looked at it both from a functional standpoint, providing not just analytical capabilities, but also bringing in additional functionality around automation, but also really thinking about how architecture is such an important part of how we want to deliver modern software products and software tools out to users today. So, the old way, and probably many of you are familiar with the model, the server-based model, requiring, dedicated hardware, doesn't scale very easily, can be very expensive to manage. If you need to fix something, maybe it requires a lot of downtime. If you need to, add a bunch more users, you got to add more servers, you got to scale fairly manually, and it can be very costly, not just from the hardware costs, but also from a personnel and maintenance and management costs to get everything going. And so when you think about, some of the new ways of getting there, sort of that new paradigm, as Eric talked about, is really this idea of cloud native. And really, cloud native is not just about creating, containers that run on a bunch of different clouds. It's really about leveraging the power of the services available on the cloud to create a unique way of delivering software, serverless, microservices, and built on top of some of the best technology available and the services of tools that public clouds like AWS can provide. And we'll talk about kind of what the architecture and what the types of services look like that allow us to get to not only a new way of architecting solutions, but also a great way to reduce costs. And obviously costs can be very important. One of the major reasons why you would go into more of a serverless modern architecture is because of the overall cost savings. We've actually done the analysis and comparing to the old way or the traditional way of doing things, the modern serverless microservices architecture can save huge amounts of money in infrastructure costs. And that's something that's going to be incredibly important when you're looking particularly at embedded solutions to be able to tackle the business intelligence and business analytics and data challenges that you have within your applications as you grow, as you add users, as you want to add new flexibility and capabilities. The infrastructure cost is going to be a huge component that you're going to have to factor in when it comes time to picking the right solution to deploy your products. And so with Curve, what we've done is we've created a platform that allows you to sort of tackle the entire pipeline of your data when it comes to analytics and data visualization and automation. So from the data management standpoint, being able to tap into pretty much any type of data service, data source, relational platforms, unstructured, semi-structured data, anything that you want in terms of a data engine, devices, machines, even being able to capture human collected data through forms and surveys, all these different opportunities exist to be able to then present them visually in an analytics output. So your dashboards, your reports, your data visualizations, all the ways that you want to interact with and explore data in a compelling way. And then kind of the third layer is the ability to leverage the automation. And so don't just focus on the ability to visualize your data, but also create ways to automate and bring data directly to users, either via notification style like email or Slack integration, or even customizable API integration. All that can be part of a solution that's delivered in a cloud native way. And so at a high level, the way we've been able to deliver the functionality and feature sets of Curve is really by harnessing the power of the cloud native capabilities on the AWS ecosystem. And so this is just a kind of a high level view of the overall cloud native architecture that the Curve platform is in fact tapping into. When you think about serverless solutions, kind of all starts with that API gateway of accessing content, and then all of the interactions being orchestrated through a combination of serverless Lambda functions, microservice containers, and then various data storage mechanisms, usually either file system style storage like an S3 bucket or NoSQL, and robust sort of document storage models like a DynamoDB or an Elasticsearch type of service. And so the Curve platform is really leveraging all of these different components to deliver a rich set of analytical visualization and even no-code capabilities, but tapping into the full breadth of the power that exists on the AWS ecosystem. And the other thing I'll also point out is the architectural decisions that we've made with this new paradigm allows us to even bring in a whole bunch of AI and machine learning services as part of the platform. So instead of reinventing the wheel and developing our own sort of comprehensive natural language or even image recognition, we've been able to tap into the best of breed services that already exist within the AWS ecosystem. Tools like the natural language comprehend service, the image and video processing of the recognition service, and other tools that exist for us to leverage as part of what we can deliver within kind of the AWS ecosystem that exists. And the other aspect of the Curve platform that's quite unique is the fact that all of these services, when we package them up as part of the Curve platform, are in fact going to be deployed into our customers' own AWS accounts. So you can deploy the Curve platform into the AWS region of your choosing. If you need to run it for your North America clients, you can deploy it all into North America regions. You want to deploy it into European or South American or Australia or Asia, Singapore regions, those types of things. All of these services can be made available both for localized delivery of content or for failover and redundancy purposes. Because again, not just harnessing the power of all of these different capabilities, but doing so in a way that packages it up and deploys it into your own AWS environment, so you get to take advantage of the serverless architecture that the Curve team has been able to create and build out as part of our platform product.
Yeah, and real quick, I just wanted to comment on that. I think that's probably such an excellent way to describe what you have here, just referencing the natural language processing capabilities, which of course are going to be improved over time as Amazon refines these services. You're still using them, but you get the latest and the greatest, and it's all baked right inside of your own account, right?
Absolutely, and I think that's a really important point because these services are constantly being invested in and improved by the AWS team. And so even if, for whatever reason, Curve decided not to make any additional enhancements to our core capabilities and services and functionality, the platform that we've built out architecturally would continue to improve and be enhanced and grow. All right. So one thing I would like to also do then is just show a couple of examples of what the Curve product offers in terms of the flexibility and capabilities of the overall platform. I've talked a lot about the business analytics capabilities, business intelligence tools, and how we've packaged them with this fully cloud native architecture. So from an output standpoint, a lot of what gets delivered to our customers is that more traditional analytical experience that probably anybody who's used a business intelligence product in recent years is going to be very familiar with. So it's the interactive dashboard experience, whether it's being able to do things like explore and drill into data, and being able to do things like click and filter and drill into values and refresh content and change data and on the fly, or being able to toggle between multiple different dashboard screens and drill into detailed tabular views and all these different types of things that you want to explore when it comes to your data. But the idea here is this isn't always going to be a standalone analytical experience. Our goal is to provide these types of capabilities in a fully integrated, fully embedded fashion, but do so in a way that's also of no code, so you don't have to know any sort of development programming knowledge or have to write any SQL queries or do anything like that, because everything that we're building inside the Curve platform is designed around that drag and drop no code model. So when I want to build a customizable dashboard, it's as easy as creating a brand new canvas. I can on the fly add any number of custom charts that I want. Simply select the data that I want to work with, drag and drop, create the customizable visualizations. Everything is going to be very much context driven. So as soon as you start dragging in new data, new values, you want to present multi-series values, different types of aggregate data, different ways of changing and styling information. I don't need to have any knowledge other than what types of things I want to be able to present and manipulate and interact with as part of the design time UI that I'm working with. inside the Curve platform environment. And as you can see, building a dashboard is as simple as clicking into your data, creating visualizations, and arranging exactly how you want everything to be laid out. It's going to be fully context driven. So if you've got date values, you want to group it a certain way, all that type of flexibility is going to be there. And again, no coding required, just the drag and drop model and paradigm for creating these types of customizable controls, visualizations, and the like. Everything is incredibly interactive. So if you did want to build some interactive sort of drill down filter style behaviors, you want to link to other applications, you want to create drill path paradigms for all the data and details, you can easily create and construct all the different interactions that you want to have as part of the the design time view or the runtime view that you're going to be exposing out to your users. So the quickness and the agility and the ease in which I can create and model gives us that flexibility. But the other aspect of the Curve platform that makes us very unique is the fact that everything is 100% embeddable. So the design views that we're creating, you can embed the output views. So if you just wanted to, for example, take a simple chart and embed that. This is just an HTML file that I've embedded one of my customizable charts. And if you want to have the drill behaviors, you can embed that. If you want to have the download behaviors and export behaviors, you want to have the edit control behaviors, the interactions, whether it's changing how the data is grouped and managed, whether it's changing the visualization styles, whether it's customizing full sort of tabular or other interactive types of reports that you want to build. All of that flexibility is going to be available to you both kind of in a standalone way as well as a fully embedded experience that you can offer to your users as part of your custom applications that you're working on. So the idea is you can build any of these visual capabilities, interactive capabilities. Again, this is just another example of this these types of features and functions just dropped right into an existing set of application tools that I might have, filter control logic, the ability to interact with data, the ability to, customize and control and visualize and edit data. Very powerful tools available to us as part of, the design environments that we can have for the Curve platforms that are there. But the other aspect of the platform that's also very important is that we go beyond just the visualization layer to introduce both an automation capability as well as a data collection capability. So the automation feature set, again, just another way that you can introduce some compelling events and triggers and automation rules for your users to take advantage of embedded into a custom application. So for example, we could create a custom automation flow. Again, this is no code required. So in a no code fashion, I can simply drag in, the types of triggered events that I need. Might be something like a scheduled event. I could kick it off starting, let's say, on Friday, and I could have this repeat weekly. So every Friday, 12 noon, I want something to happen. And that something might be, let's drag in some conditional rules that analyze my data or my metrics about my data. So I've got a metric that I've built that's looking at some data on a weekly basis, and I want to see, for example, how much has it changed week over week? Has it gone up, more than 15%? If so, let's take some action on top of that data, and that action could be as simple as firing off an email to whoever needs to be notified about that change, or maybe it's more of a Slack style integration that I want to take on, where I'm going to drop a message as a Slack bot into one of my Slack channels. Maybe I'll notify my support team about the change in the metric percentage or something like that. And so you have all of this flexibility, not just to visualize and present the data and integrate that, but also to build out any of the customizable workflow style triggered events and actions that you can take on top of this information. And you're not limited to just the notification style events like email and Slack, but also more data-centric events like data updates, flag some data, insert some information, submit the data back to a connected system. So really creating that integration is possible through these methods here.
I love it. This has been a fantastic show. Look these folks up online, Curve, Qrvey. Look them up. We'll talk to you next time, folks. Take care.